Solving trigonometric equations. When we solve a trigonometric equation, it's going to be the same techniques that we use when we solve a standard algebraic equation. So we'll do the same things like combine like terms or factor or use the quadratic formula if it's in quadratic form. But we can also, because it's a trigonometric equation, use an inverse trig function. But even if we have to do that, we'll still be using those algebraic techniques before that. Our goal is to find the general solution, which is in the format, which gives us the format of all solutions of the equation. It's going to look something like this. And what this tells us is that there's more than one equation, or more than one solution to the equation. Because we know, for instance, I've graphed the sine curve here for you. If I were looking for sine of x is equal to 1, then I know that I would be using pi divided by 2 in the interval 0 is less than or equal to x is less than 2 pi. So that's one solution, is pi over 2 comma 1. But I also have a solution at 5 pi over 2 and 9 pi over 2 and so forth, or at negative 3 pi over 2 and continuing in the negative direction. So when we write our general solution, we're finding the solution in the interval from 0 to 2 pi, and then we're using the period here. Because our period for the sine function is 2 pi, we're going to say plus 2 pi n or 2n pi for n that is an integer. And that tells us that we can add or subtract multiples of 2 pi to find the rest of the solutions. Now this is the sine curve here. We can also look at it on the unit circle. Again, we have pi over 2. Going 2 pi from there would bring us to 5 pi over 2, to 9 pi over 2, and so forth. We'll start with two examples for combining like terms. The first I'm going to go through with you, and the second I'd like you to try on your own. So for the first question, again, I'm going to combine like terms. So I'm trying to get all of the cosines to one side, all of the constants to the other. So I'm going to obviously just take it step by step. If you did both in the same step, that's okay with me. I would add cosine of x to each side, resulting in 2 cosine of x plus 1, and then subtract 1. So if you went straight from step 1 to step 3, that's okay. I just wanted to be very clear on what I'm doing. Then I would divide by 2 on each side to get cosine of x is equal to negative 1/2. Remember that cosine is the x value in the unit circle. So cosine of negative 1/2, I'm looking for where is the x value negative 1/2. And that's here at 2 pi over 3 and at 4 pi over 3. So I know those are my two solutions within the interval 0 to 2 pi. So my final solutions will use those solutions plus 2 pi n, for n is an integer. And again, we'll do that because our period is 2 pi. So I'd like you to try the next question on your own, and when you're ready, press play to see how you did. So again, the first thing I would do is subtract tangent of x from each side. That would give me 1 tangent of x minus radical 3 is equal to 0. Add that radical 3 to get it to the other side. And now I'm looking at my unit circle for where tangent of x would be equal to radical 3. And remember, tangent is y over x, which is sine divided by cosine. So I'm looking for essentially radical 3 over 2 divided by 1 over 2, because then I would end up with just radical 3. So that means I need y to be radical 3 over 2 and x to be 1/2. And that would be here at pi divided by 3. But it would also work at 4 pi divided by 3. And that makes perfect sense because we know the period of tangent is pi. So all of our solutions are going to be pi distance apart. And so our final solution is pi divided by 3 plus n pi for all n that are integers. Let's take a look at a couple of factoring or quadratic formula questions. For my first equation, I have sine squared x is equal to 2 sine of x. Now, many times you might think that the best way to solve this is to divide by sine of x on each side. because sine squared of x divided by sine of x gives me just sine of x, and 2 sine of x divided by sine of x gives me 2. And where does sine of x equal 2? Nowhere. And you would say there's no solutions to this equation. However, that's not accurate because we have not taken into account the sine of x factor. So instead, let's gather the terms on the left-hand side and factor out that sine of x. That gives me sine of x times sine of x minus 2 is equal to 0. We're still going to get that sine of x is equal to 2, which is still not going to result in any equations because remember the range of sine is between -1 and +1. So this is not going to result in any solutions, but sine of x is equal to 0 at pi, at 2 pi, at 3 pi, and so forth. And so from 0 to 2 pi, our answer is pi, but we're actually saying x is equal to pi n for all n that are integers. I would like for you to try the second question on your own, and I want you to note that in this one, I'm looking only at that interval 0 to 2 pi. So press pause, try your hand at this question. When you're ready, press play to see how you did. So again, the first thing I would do is factor. If you're having a hard time factoring, just think about this as 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. How would I factor that? I would say this is 2x minus 1, x minus 1. So notice that's what I did here. Instead of x, I've got sine of x. So that's the trick for factoring, is factor like you already know how to factor. From here, I would set each of those equal to 0. I would simplify by adding that 1 to each side. On that first term, I'd have to also divide by 2. So I have sine of x is equal to 1/2, and sine of x is equal to 1. And then again, I'm just looking at that unit circle. So from 0 to 2 pi, sine of 1/2 gives me pi divided by 6 and 5 pi divided by 6. And sine of x is equal to 1 at pi divided by 2. I don't have to add pi n or anything because the question itself said just use the interval 0 to 2 pi. Now you might be thinking, okay, but she didn't show me a quadratic formula example. So let's look at the second example using the quadratic formula. So on the quadratic formula, I'm going to get rid of all these other markings here. On the quadratic formula, I have just using that sine of x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And notice I still get the 1 and the 1/2 that I got over here. And I could then solve from there. Before we go through this example, I do want to point out that there were, I think, 11 examples in your book for different ways, different strategies, different problems you might come across. So I did my best to cover what I believed would be the most difficult for a student. There are other examples in your text that you can reference, and if you really need an example of one of those, let me know. So from here, I'm rewriting with a single trig function. As you can see, I've got sine squared of x, and then I've got a cosine of x, and that means I have two different variables. Even though I have sine of x and cosine of x, which is the variable, I have two different functions that I'm dealing with. So instead, I'm going to use the Pythagorean identity to replace sine squared of x with 1 minus cosine squared of x, which is the Pythagorean identity. And then I'm going to distribute the 2 to get 2 minus 2 cosine squared of x plus 3 cosine x minus 3. I'm going to combine all of that together to give me negative 2 cosine of x, cosine squared of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 1. And then, because I don't like that negative, I'm going to divide each side by -1. And dividing this side by -1 gives me a positive, a negative, and a positive. And then this side, obviously, divided by -1 has no issue. So from here, I'm going to factor. So I notice I just kept this negative out front so you can see what I did there. So factoring positive 2, negative 3, and positive 1 gave me 2 cosine of x minus 1 and cosine of x minus 1. As I did before, just set each of those equal to 0. So cosine of x is equal to 1/2 and cosine of x is equal to 1. And then we find in the period from 0 to 2 pi, that's pi divided by 3, 5 pi divided by 3, and x equals 0. So then we write our final solutions using those values plus 2 pi n, because that is the period of the cosine function. For this question, we're going to find all of the solutions of sine x plus 1 is equal to cosine of x in the interval. And there's obviously more than one way to do this, but one way to do this is to square each side. But in doing so, we may end up with extraneous solutions, and that means they're a solution to our modified equation, but they are not a solution to our original equation. So let's solve our modified equation by squaring each side. On the left-hand side, obviously, I would be foiling. So that's sine squared x plus 2 sine of x plus 1. So again, I'm thinking about 2 of these and then foiling. And on the right side, it's just cosine squared of x. So on the left side, on the right side, because now I have a sine function and a cosine function, I'm going to use that Pythagorean identity again. So cosine squared of x is equal to 1 minus sine squared of x. And again, I chose the right side because this side had a just regular sign and I couldn't do any replacements there. Then I'm going to combine like terms. I end up with 2 sine squared x plus 2 sine of x is equal to 0. Factor out the 2 sine of x from each term. Now I have two values. 2 sine of x is equal to 0, so sine of x is equal to 0. Sine of x plus 1 is equal to 0, so sine of x is equal to negative 1, and that gives me three solutions, 0, pi, and 3 pi over 2. Now for each of these, all I'm going to do is take my original equation, plug in the values, and see if the result is true. So if I take 0, sine of 0 is 0, cosine of 0 is 1, I get 0 plus 1 equals 1. Obviously, that's true. Next, I have pi. So sine of pi is equal to 0. Cosine of pi is equal to negative 1. And 1 does not equal negative 1, so not true. And finally, I have 3 pi over 2. So sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. So I get negative 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. That is true. So my only two solutions are 0 and 3 pi over 2. For our last example, we're going to use inverse trig functions in order to find the actual solutions, but we're still going to use all of the same strategies that we did before that. So we'll start with this question, and this is a factoring question. So we have 4 tangent squared of x plus 5 tangent of x minus 6 is equal to 0. And if I'm not so good at factoring, I'm going to use that amazing factoring where I take a times c. So that's 4 times negative 6, which is negative 24. I then look for factors of 24. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And I'm looking for a difference of positive 5. So that would give me right here a negative 3 and a positive 8 would have a difference of positive 5. I'll use those values when I factor by taking tangent of x minus 3 divided by a, so that's why it's called amazing factoring. I took the negative 3 divided by 4 and the positive 8 divided by 4. And for my first equation, it doesn't reduce, so I have 4 tangent of x minus 3, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So here's my factorization. Now from here, I'm doing the same steps I did before. Set each of those factors equal to 0 and find what the trig function is equal to. So tangent of x is equal to 3/4 and tangent of x is equal to negative 2. Now for each of these functions, if I were to look at my unit circle and look at y divided by x, none of those values equals 3/4 and none of those values equals negative 2. So when I'm finding my solution, we're going to be using the inverse trig function. So essentially, like before, I'm taking arctan of tangent of x, and I'm taking arctan of 3/4. So arctan of tangent just gives me x, and then arctan of 3/4 is some decimal solution. So this is the exact solution. And then the same thing over here, I would take arctan of each side to get arctan of -2 is equal to plus pi n. And then you can also find those as decimal equivalents. But again, the tangent function has a period of pi, and that's why we used pi n on these. Coming up next, we're going to look at the sum and difference formulas.